Welcome, everybody, except for my producer, who gave me bad juju by saying don't mess it up. So, except for you.
And you instantly
Big G.
F it up.
It's playoffs time. It's still playoffs time. But now, it's getting pretty dicey. Team Liquid versus
It's
Evil
elimination
Geniuses.
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that I enjoy. This is drama.
People's lives are on the line. Game of Thrones is my favorite show.
We may have an executioner by the end of the day. Just putting that out there. Might get pretty crazy. Anything that you're looking forward to, because it's not just today's games that, of course,
This
that
is
we're
going
playing
to
out throughout the
sound
week.
really offensive.
Yeah,
But
I'm ready for
it's shocking Dignitas can still go to Worlds.
That's pretty offensive.
I'm looking at this bracket and I'm like, because all I'm thinking is like, wow, it's crazy that either TL or EG isn't even going to make it to the Worlds qualification match. And then you just got Dig sitting up there. They can pull off an upset tomorrow.
Seed 7.
Yeah.
They have a shot for international play.
The other thing, NRG winning in the upper bracket, unexpectedly upsetting Golden Guardians and earning yet another date with C9 in a playoff bracket. And we've talked about how until this point we're like, oh, this team kind of pushed C9, but C9 always won. So even though I think it's still C9 favored, I'm really curious to see what NRG can do because they've absolutely leveled up.
You interested in the same series or anything that catches your mind on that one? On that bracket?
I think the Energy Stories has a lot to tell with these players, and they haven't been like front and center of the LCS to have those stories told. So I'm actually really looking forward to them, not only this weekend, but also being at finals weekend and getting in front of fans. The funniest thing to me is Worlds last year, Travis walking around with Palafox.
People need to go find this video. People have to go find this video.
Yeah.
Just
I haven't
asking
seen
like,
it.
hey, do you know who this is? And people, like one person knew who Palafox was. And that's going to change after this weekend.
Yes.
It
yes.
better.
I think for me, that's the big takeaway, is that there are so many storylines that are interesting from this playoffs that are all happening at the same time. The fact that, Jensen can still go to Worlds.
Yes, he can.
He can still do that with Dignitas. So, that 7-seed miracle run can happen. So I asked you guys, including, I put myself to task as well. And just the challenge is a playoff pyramid of who has the most to gain from winning an LCS championship.
Yeah.
Just a sweeping generalization of a
Who's
ask.
got the most to gain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who has the most to gain? First person we asked was Emily. So Emily,
I hate going first.
which
Okay.
players do you think is the most
All
interesting?
right,
Boom.
so there we go. You see a lot of NRG players on
Wow.
there.
Whoa,
Exactly what
biased.
we're talking about. I think I put Palafox at the top because I think Palafox, again, he himself has talked about this, about looking at people with nameplates off, actually looking at the gameplay, not favoring what other players are capable of based on their history versus how they're playing now. I think Palafox, even though he's had a wild variance for part of the regular season, has been absolutely popping off in playoffs. And then right in the second tier there, both Contracts and Dokla. I waffled a little bit with Contracts because, again, he has had success previously in his career. But I think the return of him, how distant he has been from those initial C9 years, means a lot to him. And then obviously Dokla. I also threw M&S. I mean, is it great, in my opinion, another great story kind of in the LCS. I think he has a lot to gain. And then obviously Revenge. APA might be kind of low, actually, but I think people, because he's so new, people are still kind of making up their minds about him, whereas they might already have this weird version of Palafox in their minds that he's not very good. So he can absolutely prove those people wrong.
I love this. We'll talk about it more in depth as we challenge each
We'll
other on
debate
our
these
own
lists.
playoff
Debate
pyramid.
after.
I have
You combined them. You
Cheated.
cheated.
I have a confession.
hell?
What kind of
man.
pyramid is this?
Here's my
We said
confession.
we weren't going to criticize, but how can we not when this shows up on our screen?
Put 6 people in tier
What
2?
is this?
My first confession, as you can tell, I cheated. The second confession is I didn't understand the assignment. Because my thing was going to Worlds. Jensen having the shot to go to Worlds with a pretty difficult task being on Dignitas for the team that he has been given. So not being able to have C9, but being on a team that has a little bit more struggle, if he can still make it there, that is insane to his legacy, his career. That's number one. Energy, look, throw them all in there. And here's what's even better. I even throw Poom at the very tail end.
Raz, Energy is already going to Worlds. They have
Yeah.
nothing to gain from going to Worlds.
Yeah, they gained it. They gained it.
Most to gain.
Yes, and I changed it.
Yes, you cheated
Most
and you
gained?
changed the criteria.
They gained a lot.
Changed the criteria.
We're going to Marks. We're
misunderstood the
going to Marks. You
criteria.
guys are cut off.
Wow, production is moving ahead.
I hate you guys.
Oh my God.
I hate you guys.
All right, so for winning a title, I think Palafox seems to be pretty unanimous, like up there for number one between Emily and I. I think just the fact that he does seem like, in a lot of ways, the biggest carry on this energy lineup that has been perennially not able to get all pros. And so if he wins a title, he just basically, puts his foot down and says, like, you have to start giving me credit. So I think that's really big for him on an individual level. Core JJ winning without double lift in NA, I actually think is something that's important for him in his career and longevity, because right now the naysayers have a lot of ammo against him. When it's like, well, you only did it with double lift. And just like the fact that he's a world champion, all this stuff, and like kind of getting back on top would be huge. JoJo, just kind of cementing the fact that he is like the next in line as an NA superstar. The guy, that's Himothy energy coming from him. So I think it's just, he's already kind of doing it. And one of the things I struggled with was like, some people's storylines are already kind of en route, like they're already on the track, and winning another title doesn't really do that. So, like, for Jensen, for example, for me, like, he's already gone to Worlds 8 times in a row. It's already the world record. Going in 9th is super impressive, but it doesn't, like, change the story the way I think a lot of these can change the current narratives that people are saying about them.
Let's rush through mine, and then we'll get to the comparison of all of us. I think, Mark, yours is fairly similar to mine in the fact that I put Palafox up there, but I do have a representative for each team, because I'm looking at these guys as the protagonist of the team's success, and I think this is how a lot of people are going to be seeing it.
That's
so
really cool.
That's how
Palafox, I think, definitely has the most to gain as the year of the NA mids, and also the NA mid who hasn't done it before and has been either underrated or underperformed for so much of his career. And I have, my one that I haven't seen on here is just somewhat way down there at the bottom. He's already won an MVP.
Yeah.
And if he could actually show that Summit Ball can win you a title, I think it would be amazing for his legacy.
One person that we all have is Blabber, except for Emily, who's a hater. But I think
I'm not.
to go against my own point about, like, is this advancing a narrative or changing it? For him, he is on the all-time greats NA list, and he is crawling his way up there. A lot of people still hold him back from, like, Xmithie for best jungler of all time, and I think just another accolade in his back pocket, being another championship, and climbing over him in total domestic titles will be a big thing for him, kind of grabbing that title away from Xmithie.
So yeah, the reason why, because like obviously I focused on players who kind of haven't cemented really a legacy in the LCS yet. Like I definitely over-indexed on that. One thing I'll say about Blabber though, because I did leave him off, is that I feel like Blabber is already the best North American jungler. I know that people, I know that people waffle about that with Xmithie, but I think the thing that's going to make a difference in terms of Blabber's narrative in the eyes of the community is actually doing well internationally. Not necessarily winning another NA title.
And I think that's the most interesting thing about this, from the reasoning that I've heard from a lot of you guys, is just like countering community sentiment. A lot of these players, either there's criticism like in Core JJ that I've been seeing in a lot of these lists about, like, you are incredible individually, but being able to get to that next step and win a championship and prove to the people out there that, no, you're wrong, I can do it, seems to be the takeaway out from a lot of these people.
Yeah, this is an interesting assignment because it's like we're doing analysis on narratives, right?
Yes.
So we're not actually talking about
It's not narratives, it's
his
analysis.
players. It's like, what do we actually think people's views are going to do depending on the results that
Well, and it's interesting too, because some players like Dokla would have a lot to gain to win, but I actually don't think that if he did win, I don't think the narrative would be about him in a lot of ways.
That's a good point.
And that's why for me he wasn't on there, even though I know individually it would be huge for him as a person, but like I don't think if they win a championship, people are suddenly going to be like, Dokla's the best top laner?
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen with Palafox?
I really wanted to put Blabber higher, but I agree with the point that it's going to be international success for him because a win doesn't make him the NA GOAT.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the only thing left for him. Like, he's already going to be, he was on the all-time top 10 LCS players. He is somewhat debatable #1 jungler, but I think most people actually put him as best jungler of all time. And one title is not going to change that.
Yeah, that's the most interesting thing from a lot of this, is that, like, the difference between a new player coming in, because I've seen APA, I threw in Poom because, yes.
Yeah, it's a lot to gain.
Yeah, it's a lot to gain.
But Poom, who's going to give Poom credit when Jensen, Santorin, and Rich win?
Sure.
Exactly. That's why I didn't have Poom on there.
Well, they're the ones also giving him credit, because he came in halfway through the split. This goes back to my reasoning for him, is like, they came in halfway through the split. They're saying that he provides, like, greater vision in the game. And also, remember, he's the one that got dropped off alongside Luger from that NRG team that ended up taking that next step.
It would be pretty
Not a good
big
look.
for him
Yeah.
to get that revenge.
Yes, because if you end up failing as a team or failing individually when being given that shot while they're the ones making that next step forward, that comes off as a bigger kind of ammo for the community. So, like, it's important for everybody. It's really interesting to just be able to see these stories be told as the playoffs go on. Speaking of new players that we've been talking about pretty heavily,
Somebody's back again.
Shaden time!
Guess who's
Yep.
back? Back again.
Shaden's back.
Tell a friend, man.
Guess who's back? Yeah, talk about him.
I mean, I don't know how much there is to say. It's just like, I don't know what EG is looking for out of either of their guys right now, because I thought Armeo played okay in the series in game one.
Yeah.
Struggled a little bit in game two, and then they sub him out, and now Shaden's starting, and it feels like a lot of waffling.
Yeah, it feels like a struggling golfer who just changes his putter all the time. Like, it's
Oh, yeah,
really
bro?
not the putting stroke, but it's whatever you feel comfortable with in the moment. You're just
Yeah.
going to roll with that. And I don't actually think Shaden or Armeo have noticeably distinguished themselves from each other.
Yeah.
But I think when one of them isn't working great, they're just going to put the other one in. So I think there's a chance if they go down 0-2, we're going to see Armeo.
It's interesting because I remember even in some of the interviews when you can hear nuggets from the teams, it's like, oh, when Shaden will just listen to JoJo. So like, if JoJo says something, he's doing it. And I guess it's like that new player mentality where it's like the person who's making the calls will feel much more safer with somebody who's able to follow it. Now that's not the decision making. The decision making from what we've seen is it's coaching specifically.
Yeah, but what's
Coaches
really
making
interesting
these
to me
calls.
when I compare like actually the two junglers is Shaden goes mid less than Armeo. So maybe he's going to go along with whatever JoJo says in the late game, or maybe he's just going to be less vocal.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual like mid jungle dominance, Armeo was the guy who went mid all the time. So
True.
Shaden has been very good in team fights, and they found a lot of wins with him. Like by no means am I saying. I do absolutely think this is the correct starter for the series.
Yeah.
But there's a chance we see multiple.
Well, and a funny storyline for this one is going to be Ayla going up against his former teammate, going up against Jan. Anything you guys have to talk about Jan specifically? Because we're bringing him in the conversation.
Yeah, I just think it's really cool to see him and Ayla throwing down after being so successful during their time in the Academy League, winning Proving Grounds, them going toe-to-toe. I don't know if we have it, but they tweeted out right before this, Jan was saying something like, it's sad to go against my bro, or something like, we've done so well together, but I'm moving on ahead, or something like that. So there's still like a level of camaraderie. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I figured we
that's
pulled it. I
cute.
trust our production team, but yeah, there it is, showing off the picture of them.
Yeah, I mean, I got to work with both of these guys when they joined Team Liquid back in 2021. They came in at the same time. Ayla as the reigning MVP of the OPL, actually,
Yeah.
and Jan as a scouting grounds pickup for Team Liquid. So they spent 2 full years together, living in the same apartment complex, practicing in the same facility, growing together a lot. So there will definitely be a lot of added meaning as one of them eliminates the other from the season today.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. They were dominating Academy/Challenger League for a long time, honestly, and they were the ones that were being given the ball. So I want to see what happens. Hopefully, bot lane is going to be the center of this series. Let's talk about the series, though. Evil Genius is going.
Let's
up against
do
Team
it.
Liquid. So, Mark, I think you have something for us.
Yeah, so I think the thing that's interesting about this series for both teams, though I'm going to cover the EG side, is some of the inconsistencies that we've seen out of them. I
Yeah.
think both teams have incredible early games. They're really explosive about getting leads, but they're not always the best when they get them. And that came really apparent to me in the C9 series with team fighting with Baron buffs for EG. This is, as you can see, 37 minutes into the game, so pretty late game. They've broken multiple of the turrets here.
Yeah, it's from EG's Game 1 victory over C9, right?
The loss,
blacked
sir.
out.
They do not win this. So they already have minions coming in here. They're pushing in here. They have Baron. Everything looks great. And as you play it out, one thing that happens is they're actually going to land a binding onto Fudge with the Ivern. And so once that lands, the entire team is going to take it and just scoot forward here as a teleport from M&S is coming through. And that's going to open up the back line to actually get jumped on by him as the rest of C9 kind of goes here. And everyone just tunnels way too much on him. Watch Unforgiven just scoot forward on the slide as we play this out. And it's just so tragic how they all go whoop, and they all end up right there. Easy backline access. They get exploded here. And it feels like a team that doesn't have a ton of leadership and veteran shot calling, because you can slow play this with top inhibitor broken, mid inhibitor about to be taken, push him out and just take the objective focus. I understand getting hyphy and trying to end the game, but this is a consistent problem for this team, which reared its head as well in game 3 as we continue on with this. This time around, they have Baron again. They're trying to contest vision, and they say, okay, this guy's walking too far forward. We got to punish the support for contesting our vision, but no one else is nearby on the minimap right now. You can see right here, one of the biggest carries, not actually in range yet, even to take his ultimate. So as this fight plays out, they're trying to blow up Sven, but it takes way too long. They're getting blown up. And so Unforgiven's running through Maokai saplings. He's chunked down to half HP. When he finally lands, a Void Seeker and tries to go in, he gets insta-exploded by the rest of the team. And the entire time, Berserker was just free hitting. And he is the Fed member of C9, the one that they needed to be focusing down. The one where, yeah, you can start a fight onto Sven, but if you don't kill Berserker, you're going to lose the fight. And that's exactly what happened here. And so moving forward in the playoffs, this is one of the things that they'll need to improve if they do want to make a Worlds run here, is figuring out how to play out team fights, especially when ahead, and not getting over hyphy.
And I'm going to talk about TL.
EG had some big leads in that C9 series, Mark.
That shouldn't have been a 3-0.
You picked two clips
rough.
where they should have just won the game.
This is what C9 said. They're like, we played so bad and we won. Like, I think that also speaks to the fact that EG can be really good.
All right, what do you got for us, Emily?
All right, so I'm going to cover TL, and it's not going to be about team fighting, but it is going to be about some of their decision making. So here, the big things to note are that Summit actually does not have his teleport. He used it previously, and also let me rewind a bit. He's actually backed. So he's backing here. He was actually dirty farming up here, so he had control of this lane. He's going to back. He cannot match TP on this play, right? So when 100 Thieves set up this dive, what probably would have been a better call for him, instead of recalling and very slowly walking kind of to here, then kind of goes here once this goes south, right? He waffles a lot in this game, and it happens a few times throughout where their lane assignments, instead of having Summit, stay up top, get more farm that way, he can't respond to the play anyway, they don't have TP advantage. He kind of waffles between a lot of things. This is another play that they end up setting up here. And if you watch 100 Thieves, right after that bot lane dive, which didn't necessarily go according to plan for them, they actually are able to go up here, and this entire turret is gonna go to double lift. So because of this cross map play, because Summit was not in top lane at that time, the time between this is actually a gold gain for 100 Thieves, despite the fact that the bot lane dive did not go according to plan. So then we're gonna fast forward to the next play. Double lift is gonna get all of this for him. And he's already set ahead from a level 1 play, which gave him a kill and Quid a kill. Now here, we're gonna come in, we see Summit is TPing in here to join the team. But this fight also does not go according to plan. There's actually a lot of stuff that just kind of ends up going wrong. The Herald gets dropped. It doesn't get to go over the wall. They don't even they aren't able to get the crash on it. It actually completely disappears. And meanwhile, Someday is able to farm in mid. APA has to respond to that. It's just a lot of these small things where the team itself seems that they could have left someone on one side of the map or the other, and their opponents, in this case 100 Thieves, end up actually getting these positive plays just through map movements and bad lane assignments.
Okay, so we saw from
It's a couple reasons why they're in the loser bracket.
Yeah.
It also makes their games hard to predict, to be fair.
True.
Yes.
So, in honor of that, we're gonna bring back a very fun segment called Will It Int? So I'll be showing you a gold graph from playoffs, and you will be deciding if it will actually int or not. So, I forget who I said was up next. We have
me,
some
probably.
prompter stuff that we can skip through. Jet first. There we go. So I'm gonna send you up to the Y wall with the teleprompter.
I need to look at this.
So this is, I forget which team it is.
Okay, you need to give me that, Mark.
It doesn't say on the graphic. I thought it said in the graphic. I think this is a Team Liquid game up for. No, this is an EG game. This is an EG game. They're 4K at 24 minutes.
Oh,
You know what?
And this is about a 30-something minute game.
I bet
a
you
31-minute game.
This was game 3 against Cloud9, and you already showed me the fight where Berserker got fed on Ezreal. So at this moment, that fight didn't go well. It led to a Baron, and then it's it's close enough. You get it. That's the real line.
They went back in time a little bit.
What is it?
Let's run the clip then.
Okay, I'm interested.
Let's see if Jet was
get it?
correct.
I didn't get it.
Yeah, you said game 3.
I kind of got it. This is a 26-minute clip, actually, even though you gave me the goal from 23. So
Yeah,
it's
well, so
pretty close.
the clip is not when
I
the
actually
goal
got
lead
the
is.
right game.
This is not when the goal lead is. It's just a play that shows what happens to the goal lead. So yes, you did get the right
Dude.
game.
I was so good at this.
It looked good. They got a pick on C9. They kill
like it.
Eminez. They go to Baron, and then Berserker.
This is the Berserker play.
This is actually when the
This
game
is the
basically-
2v4, yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, man. So I'm looking at my tablet right now.
All right, let's pull up the goal graph. That's where it was. Wait, do we have the? Can we overlay the lines?
So, yeah, I mean,
all
they
right.
just ended faster than I thought. That's where it was going.
You did pretty good.
I was pretty good.
You did pretty good.
I'm pretty happy about this.
Raz is up next. I will
Yeah.
help. You can just be the pen, and I will kneel before you, my lord. Let
Okay.
me clear the screen for you.
Oh,
All right,
no.
you will also get a Cloud9 game. We can go ahead and pull that next one up.
All right.
Oh, I'm giving you the pen, sorry.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, here we go. You can join me up here.
Okay.
Oh, that's a...
Oh, they're doing
one.
quite well.
Ooh.
So this is Cloud9.
This is a Cloud9 game.
Okay.
I won't tell you who they were playing against. I will just say that this game ends also roughly, I think, around like 32, 33 minutes.
Wait,
God.
Oh, this is
Cloud9
TL?
game? It's got to be a TL or an EG game, no?
Or EG, excuse me. It's EG game.
All right. Your
EG.
consistency as a poor host is is great.
It's one thing I do.
I think EG's going to win this one, Raz.
I like this. AK.
This never happened.
Okay, so you think it's an EG loss. Let's go ahead.
Wait, let me change it a little bit and then I'll do this.
All right, you're doing. Simplify it. Let's go ahead, run the
No
clip.
way.
Take a look.
Is this the
They're just
TSM?
going to win
Yeah.
this, no?
Are they? It's a dicey Baron. TSM's collapsing.
Revenge gets like 19 kills in this
Look
game.
at this. Yeah, they win this one.
Well, all right, man. I heard TL. This
It was
is crazy.
close. Did I say TL?
No, you said EG.
C9.
It
I
was
said
very
C9.
clear.
Yeah, I'm trolling anyways.
It's fine. It's fine.
So let's go ahead and put the goal graph over top. You had it. They just
Oh,
kept
you
winning.
had it.
This
They
is why they're
kept
hard to predict.
going.
It's not all a throw. It's not everything's an int. They actually won this one. So Emily,
Both of these teams have won enough to leave it in question as to whether they will end.
Yes.
All right, last one.
Last
All
one
right.
is a Team Liquid one for Emily. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
All right, this is TL.
Yeah.
They have
this is
a
impossible.
they have a more gradual.
It's 25 minutes in the game. They have a 4K gold lead. How is it? What do you mean it's impossible to predict? How many
That's
teams-
impossible for TL.
Who knows?
Do I continue the trend of
I think it's like a
losing?
36, 37-minute game. It's kind of longer than the other ones.
So it ends at about like here. Okay.
Yeah, so like you can.
I mean, I feel like TL when they do int, it's like this, right? So it's like,
It's like a lot of soft side
yeah,
lanes.
it's just like,
right, it's like nothing ever goes 100%.
Yeah, and then the game's like really bangry.
Yeah.
And then this,
All right.
if they lose, this is what it will
All right,
look
let's
like.
I
run
love how
clip.
the lines are shaky like the gameplay.
That's every summit. of
exactly.
death.
Okay, here we go. Soul Point, critical team fight for TL versus NRG. Ooh, not a great engage. Oh, kind of getting kited out. Maybe they'll get FBI. Maybe they'll get FBI.
Oh.
Oh no.
Dude, they were up 5K in these games. Like, it just... You know it happened, but you don't remember it happened.
Yeah.
And then at the tail end of that
Wow,
energy.
okay.
Man, Emily always does the best at this segment. She's incredible. There you
That's
go.
not bad.
That's insane. All right, you know what? We'll just take that as a win.
Yeah, for everyone but Raz.
Yes, for
Yeah, you and
everybody.
Emily are really
For
close.
everyone.
Yeah.
I
as
entered
a
Raz
team.
too, to be fair.
Look, we're a team, so but we'll move on now. I want to hear from specifically JoJo and APA because they had some words about each other.
I think as a player, as an individual player, I think he's the best mid. And just like how much he impacts the map. But I think it'd just be really fun to face JoJo and then knock him out of playoffs.
Bro, I have no response to AP, honestly. Like, I don't even need to say anything. Like, nah, no response.
What the hell, man?
JoJo will not dignify it.
I have no response. I will not speak. So let's talk about JoJo specifically.
Yes. So there has been a lot of talk about whether JoJo needs to carry in order for this team to win. So we looked into these stats, and I call this spot the carry.
Okay.
It's basically if the team has a lead, if a player has a lead, how likely are they to be able to convert that lead to victory? So I want to call your attention to the middle here. So JoJo, this means he's had a gold lead at 14 in 17 games, and he's had a goal deficit in 9 games. But of those games where he has a lead or a deficit, what is the team's win rate? So interestingly enough, JoJo has a goal lead of 14, the most on his team. They win the highest percentage of games when he has a lead. He's had a goal deficit, the least on his team. Trust me, behind this, yeah, you can see it in the full screen here. And they have the lowest win rate when he is behind at 14. So this does really match the eye test. If JoJo is ahead, they're likely to win. If he's behind, they have a very hard time winning.
What? Oh, you just ignore Ayla's 80%? He's the real carry.
That's something, but only 10 games. He's actually behind
More games than not, yeah.
more games than not because all the resources are going to mid and top.
But surely it's just because mid lane's more important.
Well, actually, looking across teams, bot lane is often the most important. So let's move to TL. We got similar stats for them. You'd think we talk all of this about Summit dominating lane phase. Even though he's ahead all the time, it only leads to like one more game of winning than when he's behind. He's barely ever behind, but like
There's a coin flip
was
joke
ahead in
somewhere.
20 games.
it's just gonna flip anyway.
my God.
Actually, what I think is really important in the large sample size is Yeon down here. If Yeon and Core are able to get ahead, they have a very high chance of winning, and if they are behind, that's kind of their lowest chances of winning. Although, based on the JoJo stuff, I still think there's gonna be a big magnifying glass on the mid lane matchup.
Yeah.
But these, to me, are very interesting when moving into playoffs. I noticed a very similar thing about Summit back when he had his MVP season on C9.
Yeah.
The higher correlation to victory at the time was actually Berserker. So Summit's just gonna do Summit things, and if his AD carry is doing well, then they're more likely to find success. So
Do you think those stats align with your expectation of the matchup? Because here are the predictions for all of us.
I
actually
think it's
pretty
going to
diverse.
be incredibly close.
It's a
That's the
hard-
hardest one
it's
for
a
me to
really
call.
hard matchup.
I think a lot of it comes down to the mid lane, so I'm glad you're highlighting it. Team Liquid typically doesn't play through APA. If they can actually do that and shut JoJo down, I think they have a great chance of winning. But if JoJo runs wild and APA can't contain him, a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I want to hear from Jack, because Mark's trolling us.
Eyeballs.
I mean, we have the same predictions.
It's the same
so
thing on the screen.
I think if either team goes down in this series, we're going to see a sixth player.
Ooh.
So I legitimately think JoJo's going to have to beat both APA and Harry. Not that he can't.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done it plenty of times earlier on. But I do think we're going to see multiple mid laners today for TL.
You know what? I like to hear that as an ending point from us on the desk, just to hear from the casters and also to see if that plays out in game one. So let's start with our first game of the day.
For me to make finals weekend would mean the world. It's always been my dream to play on a big stage. I think just the energy from the crowd and the importance of the match, what it means for your team to win LCS. Every player has like proven themselves to be able to do that, so it's like just so much competition. I felt just drive to get there.
Bit of a problem here for EG so far, but Revenge arrives and fixes everything real quick. Revenge gets a triple. Revenge gets a quadra. He's got to chase it down. Boom! Evil Genius is ended in style.
Honestly, I'm pretty confident that our team can make the finals weekend. I just pictured myself in the team lifting the trophy, and I'm really looking forward to getting back into that final stage.
Multiple burns and locks here in the Riverside, and Emperor's Divide already thrown, but FBI, a stun up here with the Glacial Prison. Make that a quadra! Second penta on the day! Let's go, FBI claiming it!
Your dream is always to play in front of big crowds and play huge events. This year we've had a lot of doubters. There's nothing better than doing something people think you can't do, so hoping to do it.
TSM are already down one and should have more to fall into the grave to follow. Double kill set up for Jensen, but Insanity mark it out, but Jensen is just too much damage for him to handle.
Experience is really important when it comes to playoffs. All of our players are really, really comfortable under pressure.
They're looking for the burst, and they found Vikla. C9 just immediately destroying the Azir. Pop Blossom on 3.
Cloud9 for them is just another day in the office. Triple kill for Fudge.
There's just still that fear that teams have of C9 where we've played playoffs 2 splits in a row and we've smashed everybody. We've done this before. We've beaten all these teams. We've played all these playoffs matches before and just smashed everyone. We're just going to do it again.
Welcome back to the LCS playoffs, everybody. We got the arrivals happening earlier today. Looks like we've, got a little bit of tic-tac-toe.
Does someone not know how to play tic-tac-toe?
Aren't you always supposed to put it in the center
He
first?
ran that down super hard. You never use the top or the left or the right. Like, you always got to block the
what?
corners. They're literally both trolling.
All right.
Why did Revenge agree to this?
Yeah, why?
What is going on? All right, well, we just simply have to hope that their League of Legends skills are a bit more adept than their tic-tac-toe skills.
How much did they pay Revenge for this?
Revenge got scammed.
It had to have been something. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the LCS. Welcome back to the playoffs. I'm Captain Flowers. I'm joined by Azael and Jat here to cover this Team Liquid versus Evil Geniuses series. One team gets to go forward. The other one's going home after this. It is a lower bracket matchup. And before we get any further into it, let's go ahead and hear from Revenge and Core JJ, who caught up with one another before the games earlier today.
All right, we're here and we're back, okay? This is a huge day.
Huge day.
Best of 5 against TL. And it's loser goes home, has vacation, goes to Hawaii or Cancun, whatever you want to call it. And I thought I'd grab Core. What's the bans actually? Is it going to be three top bans, 4 top bans, both sides?
Well, if you're scared of Summit, you'll ban a lot of top bans.
Bro, okay.
Usually like who do we respect today?
Who do we respect today?
Yeah. We'll check.
We'll adapt in this series,
Yeah.
right? We'll adapt. But actually, it's kind of crazy because yesterday we played our last scrim and we were like, damn, like maybe this could be like our last scrim as a team.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you guys do that?
I was thinking about it. We didn't say it.
You didn't say it? Okay. We were like, ooh, like, guys, come on, like, focus up. Like, this is maybe our last scrim. Like, come on, like, focus up.
It sounds like your scrim didn't go well.
No, it was good. No, it was actually really good. I'm just,
Okay.
no leaks, but honestly, it was a good
day of
final
the-
day. Good day of scrims,
Yeah.
good potential last day, you know?
I was always thinking that winning this series will probably guarantee third seed.
That's what we said. Yeah, that's kind of what, okay, I'm not gonna lie.
So,
hey, no BM to GG or Day.
no BM, but
We're like, no,
we
you
are
know.
very confident winning today. It's
We're confident.
extra important.
We're confident too.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. We said like, if we beat TL today, we're winning. We're winning the title. We're going first. We're going New Jersey. We're going first. That's what we said too. So.
That's some confidence. A little bit of disrespect to Golden Guardians, the Dig, even a C9. If they win today, they're gonna go first.
Yeah, and just so people know the full stakes, obviously losing does eliminate you from the year. Winning will actually guarantee you top 4, so while that won't guarantee you go to New Jersey, it does mean your season extends, because even 4th place will be playing a best of 5 against Europe to see who goes to Worlds.
Right, you get to go to the NA versus EU head-to-head for that 4th seed, so guaranteeing a little bit of international competition at least, but let's see how they're going to go about doing it. We got some focus on the solo lanes.
Top bans.
Revectin and Jace and Rumble all banned out first.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see if there's going to be any focus towards Jojo Piana at all in picks and bans. I'm expecting Ziggs will get banned out. That has been kind of the must ban people have felt against APA. But maybe Jojo not concerned about it. Obviously, one more ban to get rid of it, though.
Something that's really interesting to me is I feel like EG has struggled a lot against LeBlanc. They lost a number of games throughout the regular season by leaving LeBlanc up for the opponent to first pick. But APA
He's not gonna
isn't
play that.
LeBlanc player,
Yeah.
so they're kind of saving a ban. And TL's opted not to ban it as well, so I think there's actually a chance they're looking for a later LeBlanc in this draft.
And the only person on TL who's actually played is Summit. He played that top LeBlanc game, which we've seen a couple
He did a lot of work with it.
So did Rich, but they both lost, if I recall correctly.
I don't think it's good.
You have a lot of damage. You know, you're going Shiv LeBlanc. It is Nico that's banned out, so Ziggs is left up. The gauntlet has been thrown down a little bit, and I want to see if TL are going to be confident enough to blind Ziggs here against Jojo, because LeBlanc is up also. I think that could be a pretty problematic matchup for him.
Yeah, the Ziggs being left open, very surprising to me. I expect to see that one in black and white throughout the entirety of the series, but Team Liquid, they probably don't expect the Ziggs to be given over to EG. They don't think they're going to put priority on that. So instead of locking the Ziggs in immediately, they want to go for that Trist. This pick is very powerful in combination with the Ziggs or without it. It can enable a lot of different comps to come online because of the flexibility between AD carry and mid positions. A lot of popularity for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, Jan has played a couple games of Trist, but it's been mostly just APA, and especially in playoffs, he's been piloting this a lot. It's not always worked out super well for him. Had been a lot of Trist versus Jace matchups that he's actually been playing through. Jace, of course, is banned out, so we are looking for the answers here from EG. What do they want to go towards?
Yeah, nothing given away yet. The Sejuani is a very generic pick. It does speak to maybe having a higher preference on melees and solo lanes, but it really doesn't give away much yet, especially with Maokai still being up.
I think Rakan makes a lot of sense.
I think Rakan makes a lot of sense. I think Maokai would make a lot of sense for Pyosik, although Pyosik did play Maokai the last time they played EG in week 6, died 10 times and they lost. So there might be a little scar tissue there about picking Maokai.
I mean, Rakan is the most played for both these supports, right? I do think it's a good denial from Core, and I think it's such a strong pairing, you know, with the Sejuani. It's giving you that guaranteed point-and-click engage. We've seen a lot of teams actually really struggle when they are not having that guaranteed hard engage throughout playoffs. Pokemon's become much more powerful, and with Kai'Sa getting locked in, it's going to be Rell alongside it. So Tristana and Kai'Sa, the 2 DPS, it's going to be Kai'Sa down towards bot, almost guaranteed, 40 on, AP Kai'Sa, AD damage, you know, from the Tristana. And now we have to see, do they actually match some roles here and grab, you know, an AD carry, or are they going to go towards mid lane? You know, there's more options on the table here for EG. But the Ahri for Jojo has been so strong and so problematic for a lot of teams, so I think it makes sense.
Yep, and that Rell still having the power of being a flex pick as well, since we don't have a support or jungler also locked in on Team Liquid's first 3, so they'll have a little bit of extra strength through that as we enter into the second half of the bans.
Now I think you just start focusing some AD carry bans potentially here on the side of TL. You know, ban out some of the high prio physical damage dealers down in the bot lane. You know, Xayah has already been banned out, so you can ban out something like Aphelios, you could even ban out Varus, and then you're pushing him pretty far down that table. Unforgiven has no Jinx games played. You know, beyond those couple picks, it's just the one Draven, one Lucian. So I do think forcing some of those physical damage bans out makes a lot of sense. If there's something you're concerned about from Revenge that's physical damage, I think you could ban that as well. But EG's comp is crying out for physical damage. Right now, really it's just like all magic and it's all CC, so Merc Treads are going to be aplenty on the TL side.
Yeah, I mean, they've really taken Unforgiven's champion pool and thrown it into the ban table. 10 Xayah games, 8 Aphelios games, 4 Kai'Sa games. His next most played is Varus at 2. So they basically taken the 80 carries he's played in 80% of the split and banned them or picked them away. So I think you'll go Varus if they don't ban it.
I think you could ban Varus as well, honestly. I feel like, I mean, then you can go towards Jinx. Like, there is stuff like Zeri, there's stuff like that, but Zeri also has a fair bit of magic damage mixed in.
A guy that plays 8 Aphelios, 0 Jinx, though, has such a strong preference towards the utility of Aphelios and doesn't necessarily love just standing back and hitting with Jinx. I'd love a Varus ban here. Unless there's something we're missing for like
I mean,
a
you
top
just want to
lane
ban physical damage, right? I think you can ban towards top if you're concerned, but I don't think that they carry.
Ezreal.
Oh, that's a good one. Even though he hasn't played it, that's been really prevalent in playoffs. Yeah. I actually really like the Ezreal ban more than the Varus ban.
Remember that it was the Ezreal from Berserker that sent EG down here in the first place in the third game of that last series that they played. So it could have been a learning experience there as Evil Geniuses now. I wonder, what are they going to pick here for this AD carry spot? Will it just be the Varus like we're expecting?
It's probably going to be Varus. We'll have to wait and find out. I mean, yeah, Varus makes the most sense. The thing is, like, if you're going to ban Ezreal, I think you have to draft Dive on 4-5 here as TL and be able to punish the Varus. Otherwise, I don't think it actually accomplishes anything, right? I think taking away that Ezreal from Unforgiven makes him less safe, but if you don't actually draft tools to dive alongside the Rell, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, Rell and Kai'Sa locked in together. You know both of them already want to dive in, so I feel like it's a natural complement to the composition to begin with. If Leona gets locked in here, yeah, that's going to mean Rell is in the jungle. Leona in the support position. Nope, switching it over to the Alistar instead. Still has some engage potential, not quite to the degree of something like a Leona.
Yeah, I personally would have liked to see the Maokai, like a Maokai Jax just locked in, because I think that makes the most team comp sense. But as we said, the last time Pyosik played Maokai against EG, he died 10 times and they lost, because the synergy would have just been so good with the Maokai saplings and the Kai'Sa poke, but they clearly just want to go all in. So they're just harder engage, more pressure on the 80 carries and the Jax to do the majority of the damage, and that's TL, they're going in.
I think Revenge just plays Fiora. I feel like he's one of those guys that really wants to play a lot of these explosive carries, you know, try to play skill matchups. It'll be interesting to see if he does go right at him with game number 1 and go for something like the Fiora, go for a skill-based matchup. The other option is Aatrox if he wants to play a carry style and wants to play towards physical damage. You know, those are the two that kind of come to mind for me. So it is going to be the Aatrox. So the more conservative option is more powerful in team fights. He did have a really good game on it in playoffs already. I want to say it was against TSM, if I'm recalling correctly.
It was game 5 against TSM. He just completely took over.
So interesting pick. Will be interesting to see how it goes against the Jax. I do think that the early laning phase, you know, is going to be favored towards the Aatrox if you can play it well. But as the game goes on, it does get really difficult to deal with Jax in the side lane. It's not something like the Fiora that I think can match in the later stages. So I do think that can be problematic. We've seen, you know, TL go more heavily towards split push, I feel like, in playoffs. You know, in their first series where they lost, the one game they won was Jax for Summit. And when you look against them, against 100 Thieves, it was a lot about split push. And it was a lot about 100 Thieves' inability to actually answer side lanes effectively and punish Summit in those side lanes. Because he was going for all these aggressive split push picks. And 100 Thieves wasn't drafting anything that could actually collapse on it and kill it.
Right. You've got to make sure there's some sort of an answer there. At least the Aatrox doesn't fall so far behind they can't defend against it, because Summit, he's the top laner's top laner for a reason. The guy is mechanically gifted on playing these 1v1 matchups, building those advantages in lane, and it's up to Team Liquid to more effectively translate those advantages into wins than they have for a large part of the season. All right, let's get into it. EG versus Team Liquid. Lower bracket match means elimination is on the line. Win here, you secure a top 4 spot. Still got a chance to go to Jersey. Still got a shot for international play. Let's go ahead and catch up now with Emily, who's standing by for an interview with TL's coach Rainover.
Thank you for taking the time to join me, Rainover. Keep your eyes on the screen, because I know the last time Mark was interviewing you, we had an interesting level 1. The first thing I did want to ask about was the Ziggs pick, just because it has been banned first rotation against your team throughout these playoffs. And then you guys did not opt into a Ziggs Tristana comp. So I was wondering how you feel about your comp going up into EGs.
I mean, we're still in the series. I don't want to say like too much information, and which can change, but we were considering Ziggs, but it's just like this was our first game prep, so we just go for it, and then if it doesn't work, maybe something changed next time. Yeah.
And then I did want to ask about the Aatrox Jax matchup, because we were actually kind of wondering, is Revenge going to pick the Jax on 4, or is he going to let the Jax over to Summit and then pick the Aatrox, which we've seen do really well in LCK most recently? How do you feel about this matchup, and how confident Summit is going into this lane?
I think the matchup-wise, Jax is better, but it's just that they have Sejuani, so it's a little bit more to red side favorite, but Summit is going to play this fantastic, so I have no worry.
He usually does. He slams lane. We'll toss it back to the casters. All the best.
Thank you very much, Emily. Thank you very much, Rainover. What's on our screen right now is what I expect so much of this series to be about. JoJo versus APA. Targeting JoJo has been the recipe for everybody going up against EG. And APA, despite his explosive entrance, subbing in for Harry halfway through the split and having pretty good performances, hasn't had that same level so far in playoffs as he goes aggro on JoJo here in the mid lane nice and early, really wanting to play this Tristana up in his opponent's face.
And he's looking so good, pretty good in the 1v1 so far. You know, does have the push. JoJo has used all his flash charges here. APA could just take an early recall, but is just going to ward to the side, and we'll see, you know, if he can just keep this pressure on.
Yeah, and I love watching APA versus JoJo here. They're both degenerate emote and chat spammers. They both try and get in each other's heads. APA actually, even before the EG C9 series happened, was like, I hope we play EG somewhere in the losers bracket, because he'd love to play against JoJo. And JoJo, top MVP candidate, I think likely to win that award, and APA has been struggling of late, so if he could put up a big performance here, I think it would be the difference in the series.
I mean, you can see TL already was hovering out towards mid as APA is going to jump forward again, and JoJo will have to likely go back to base here. If he stays around, he's sure to die. Pyosik is hovering mid, Core's hovering mid. Like, this is not a surprise. Yeah. This is what everyone does against EG, and you've got to protect your mid laner. This has been the recipe to try to take down EG.
Exactly, and before the series, we went over some stats about how well EG's gold leads convert to victories, and JoJo, of all the players on the team, is up in gold more often than anyone else in his team at 14, and that also has the highest win rate conversion. It's about 78% of the time they win when he's ahead in gold at 14, but when he's behind at 14, which isn't that often actually, it's in 9 of their total games, and that's including playoffs, they only have a 22% win rate, which, unsurprisingly, is the lowest of anyone on their team when they're behind. So the stats really do back up. When JoJo is ahead, they win, and when he's behind, winning is very hard.
And that's why I think it's so important for APA to have a good series, right? Because Flowers touched on it, he hadn't been looking as good in playoffs, and I also think that a lot of reactions we saw from him, you know, you could see the emotion, you could feel that he was feeling really stressed as Pyosik Maybe going to find Revenge here. We'll see if they want to commit to it.
Yeah, Crashdown's going to hit him. Follows it up with a little bit more damage. Yeah, exactly. Summit's still tending to the waves, so Pyosic's just trading his health for a little bit of Revenge is here to help Summit out a little bit as the lane moves forward.
Yeah, the wave is pretty awkward. It will eventually push back towards Revenge if he wants to be patient, but the wave really sucks, and now he's going to have to take a bad base. He will have to early flash.
Wow.
Funny thing about TL as well, Summit is most likely to be ahead at gold in 14 of everyone on his team, and it doesn't really seem to matter. They win 55% of the games when he's ahead and 50% of the games when he's behind.
Which is exactly what I was talking about at the end of draft. Team Liquid has not done an excellent job at translating those leads into wins. They haven't played around the leads that he has well enough to be able to snowball it into something more. So if he is going to be doing things like slamming the blind jacks in draft, challenging his opponent to be able to deal with it.
Oh, someone could be in trouble here.
Let's see. Shaden waiting in the brush, forcing the flash back out of Summit. Now both top laners without that summoner spell. Summit just walked right back up into it. That's a play you're only going to get out of Summit, man.
Man, if Summit actually got autoed there, if Revenge didn't Q and he autoed him instead, the Sejuani passive was still on. That could have been a Sejuani.
Back in mid lane, JoJo having a flash as Core, APA, and Pyosik work together for a 3-man play, getting that summoner spell. APA now flashing in retreat as Ayla went for the grand entrance. So now, both top laners no flash, both mid laners no flash. There's a lot of opportunity for follow-up ganks everywhere on the top part of the map.
Yeah, good flash in there from Ayla to make it an even trade. Pyosik is still here, though.
Pyosik coming right back in to stop Shaden. Ayla's also showing up. Core JJ showing up. Shaden having a flash away himself now as the headbutt would have been followed up by the pulverize from Core JJ. Everybody's being forced to flash.
I think these teams agree with us. Mid lane really important. They really want to make sure that mid lane is like, look at all the flashes. So Ayla, JoJo, Shaden, APA, and Core, and Pyosik, 6 flashes burned. 8 flashes in the overall game burn. We got these 80 carries, Unforgiven and Yawn, just playing ping pong with the wave down there because everybody else is playing mid and top.
Yeah, it is just all about, shutting down JoJo, and that is why EG has to come into the gameplay and actually protect him. I think you have to kind of almost just drop the ego as some of the other laners on EG and just realize that this is what everyone sees as the way to beating EG, so you need your teammates to be protecting him, right? That is the way I think that EG should be playing this series out and should be playing to win. It should not be about trying to dominate side lanes. It should be about protecting and enabling JoJo, who has been a much more consistent carry than APA, just point blank, right? This is a guy who is, first team All-Pro, who's very likely going to be winning MVP from all the chatter. So it is the player worth playing around.
Pyosik and APA now moving up into the enemy jungle. Throwing down that control ward in the brush on the approach to the red buff, just in case Shaden's going to path around that direction. But it looks like nobody from EG will be here to respond to this, so Pyosik will steal away that red. Still not level 6 here on the Rel just yet. Both junglers still sitting at 5. All of our solo laners do have ultis available. Of course, for JoJo and APA, it is going to make them that much more difficult to gank since both of those can function as disengaged mechanisms. Pyosik coming around from the side. APA rocket jumping right back in towards JoJo, who is now forced to use that Spirit Rush I was just talking about to escape yet another gank from Team Liquid.
Pyosik has basically spent his entire early game all around mid, looking for these probes, looking for these invades around mid lane, always trying to be there. And Shaden now making a return towards top. Summit has no flash, so if they can actually connect with the Sejuani ultimate, it is potential for a kill, because he also has no ward, so there's no ward to actually jump to.
Pretty tanky at this stage in the game on Jax if he pops his ultimate.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if he can connect on multiple members, definitely some tankiness, but the Sheen buy early does make you fairly squishy, so.
They're not going to see this.
Oh, immediately, Pyosik ready to go now as he pops the Magnet Storm. The 2v2 starts off with Revenge getting focused down as the Q2 allows him to kite back, and the Q3 is only going to find Summit. Evil Genius is trying to turn the fight around here a little bit as the Jax is down to 200 HP. Shaden continues the chase as Revenge turns the aggro back over towards Pyosik. It'll be EG leaving the fight with greater health bars, with greater control over this topside river, and with JoJo's rotation, they're going to start up the Herald.
Yeah, so quick to try and turn this into an objective. As soon as that fight started to go in EG's favor, JoJo moved up river, and also Ayla left bottom lane, so they have a massive numbers advantage to take down this Herald. I think that's a pretty big win for EG overall.
Yeah, you can see pings on towards the Dragon from TL. Pyosik's heading out from base to try to head down there, but with Unforgiven just having base and heading back down towards bot, there is potential that they could actually contest. Ayla right now just hovering behind JoJo here, knowing that Core is missing, Pyosik is missing. They could be looking for that play, but it was nearly a first kill in the game. you know, Summit was just narrowly able to actually avoid the Q3 from Revenge with his Leap Strike. Otherwise, I think they potentially could have finished him off.
Yeah, and it does look like it's going to be a straight-up objective trade, especially since Shaden's decided to steal blue buff. But that fight is a little strange to me. Summit and Pyosik went in with so much confidence, and then never really seemed close to being able to kill Revenge or Shaden. So it doesn't seem like they have been in that many Aatrox versus Sejuani skirmishes lately, or they just haven't played that much Royal Jungle. Like, to me, that just screams not familiarity in that specific 2v2 because they went in with so much confidence and were so far away from getting a kill.
I think because they chunked Revenge down early, you know, maybe that built them some confidence, but it is really hard, I think, to beat, you know, Aatrox Sejuani, these melee pairings on the top side in a 2v2. Maybe with double ult, they thought they could get enough burst down to really kind of focus through Revenge, but at the end of the day, you know, it was Shaden and Revenge coming out on top.
And it's even what we heard when Emily talked to Reignover, mentioning, hey, I think Jax wins in the 1v1, but Sejuani just can make that different edge come out as APA gets hit with the charm. Follow-up from Ayla there for the grand entrance, knocks the Team Liquid mid laner up to about half HP. And Evil Geniuses will walk away with this one. Jojo running a little bit low on mana, so it's not like he's going to be able to immediately try to threaten the rest of the health bar of the TL mid. Back up top side, Shaden looking for another play up here. If they can get Summit to go in a little bit further, there's the Q2, that one missed. Once Q3 goes down, Revenge is just baiting him in. There it is. Over the wall comes the Glacial Prism, and Summit's got to try to get away. The flash to try to escape, but the follow-up from Shaden means Summit is about to fall, but he escapes! Summit got away! He clears enough distance with an additional Leap Strike, and the Jax survives!
Yeah, Revenge waited really long to flash back in. He was trying to kind of play it slow, waiting on the outside of that Counter-Strike, waiting for the stun to expire during the Sejuani ult. So,
if this turns...
Now he's in trouble. There it is. The engage, the crash down. Summit's ready to pick up first blood. It feels like it should have gone the other way, but it just doesn't, and Team Liquid's first to score.
That is probably a 2,000 gold swing, because not only is it first blood and assist gold, 600 either way, 1,200, there was a Rift Herald top lane for EG that they would have dropped and taken multiple plates, but now Pyosik is mid to defend against that same Herald.
Yep, the Herald's being summoned up. APA is still pretty low. Jumps out of the way before the charm would have hit him. The Herald is going to get the charge, should just get those first couple of plates that they're looking for. Not quite enough to get that second one. Jojo's going so deep, looking for this kill on APA, but you could see that Shaden was standing, tanking the turret aggro for him just so he would be able to leave no matter what they tried to do. So EG's going to back off from that one now as APA is still only 200 HP.
Yeah, I think Jojo really wanted to get the flash off APA because he forced out the rocket jump earlier and he was chunked out. So I think he's thinking I can go in, get a little bit aggressive here, force out that flash from APA. But up on that top side, Summit was also able to grab a plate. So things went really poorly for Revenge. And I'd love to see the replay of that extended play one more time. You know, Revenge and Shaden going in, it felt like they should have had the kill on Summit for sure. I think Revenge really mispositioned, waiting for that Counter-Strike to end. He was staying up above him when you can walk down below him during this time. So to me, you know, what he's trying to do is when the ult hits from Sejuani, he's trying to retreat out and not get hit by the Counter-Strike stun. But you need to walk down, not up. You need to be below Summit because that's the only way that Summit can actually retreat. If Revenge was down below him on that initial play, I think it's pretty much a guaranteed kill.
But also, he just misplaced his Q1 while he still had flash, and then also, after he flashed for his Q2, Summit was out of range. So that, I think you play that gank out 10 times, that's a kill like 9.5.
Yeah, but I mean, that is the difference between these guys. You know, it's these small things that Summit is just outplaying him on. It's been drafting, you know, from EG to focus on top lane with this Sejuani Aatrox. They're putting a lot of resources up there. And at the end of the day, Summit not only gets away from what should have been a kill, he TPs right back, gets a free kill, then takes the turret plate. So you put all your resources up towards top for Revenge to try to get him ahead, and he's behind.
So let's go ahead and look at where all of this action, all of these attempts in the solo lanes have actually got us now with only 1 minute left before the turret plates fall. In mid lane, it's a two-wave farm advantage for Jojo. Despite the amount of times that Team Liquid has come after him, it hasn't rattled his farm at all. Up here in top lane, again, it's going to be a 2v2 as Summit puts a couple auto attacks into Shaden, but not much more. Pyosik waiting around here in the tri-brush. Shattering Strike onto 2, but since Summit is back in the lane, they're not going to continue with anything else just yet. APA and Jojo continuing the trade back in mid. Kraken Slayer and Everfrost both completed. Jojo has so much lockdown now with that. It's so easy to hit these charms.
Yeah, and I gotta say, this has been an incredibly active first 14 minutes for only having 1 kill. And to update where all the action has actually left us, Jojo is pretty substantially ahead. Not only is it that 25 CS, he got the Herald drop, so he's about 1,000 gold up to APA. So when we talk about what happens to EG when Jojo is ahead at at 14 minutes, which is what's happening right now, they win 78% of their games compared to 22% of the games when he is behind. So even though the top lane didn't go well and Revenge is down 900 gold, JoJo's in a good spot, Unforgiven's not behind, so EG is kind of fine. You also compare to that, TL in the regular season was up an average of 2,200 gold at 14 minutes, the highest in the league, and still was that only good enough for, I believe, the 4th seed in the regular season. So the fact that they're neutral in the early game and EG is ahead, probably advantage EG. And here comes JoJo with that lead.
There's that lockdown, the Everfrost and the Charm. The combo is so damn strong. Revenge still trying to catch up to Summit, but again, he won't find him. JoJo after him again.
Oh, no.
Summit escapes again, and once more. Summit with the outplay. This time it's a 2-0. Team Liquid 3-0 on the board.
Summit makes it happen on the top side again there. Pyosik is behind him, and JoJo forcing up towards top side. He connected the Everfrost, he connected the Charm, he hit everything actually. And, you know, it's going to look silly, and people are going to criticize for him just running into the tower at the end there, but APA was behind him. There was no way out. He had no ult charges unless he can get a kill for a reset. But they just don't have the damage to get it done, and EG has put so much emphasis into getting Revenge ahead. It just hasn't worked. The Q3 barely misses there. The Everfrost connects, the Charm connects, both sides of the Q connect. JoJo can't hit any more than that, but they just don't have the damage.
All right, another fight for a Herald. This time it's the second one around. Still not dead just yet, but it's stolen away by JoJo. They left the eye exposed to the auto attack of the enemy mid laner, so EG gets to pick that one up. Shaden jumping in here. Not going to find an engage. Does not want to just try to drop the ulti on the Jax. Evil Geniuses will be happy to steal away the objective.
Yeah, because TL is definitely playing with a big advantage here. Summit is kind of taking over this game. The amount of 1v1 and 2v2 skirmishes that he has narrowly outplayed,
he is the gold leader,
is out of control. He's not even the gold leader on his team, actually. Yan was able to take a solo turret while all this was happening, so he's strong. Here comes the fight at Dragon.
Another fight, this time on the other side of the map. Remember that first Drake did go the way of TL. It was the objective trade for the first Herald. JoJo Charm not going to find anybody. Summit approaching from the side. Shaden below half HP. Yan firing off the Void Seeker, but it ain't going to hit him. Team Liquid still with almost entirely full health bars. The Sejuani very low here on the side of EG. Considering that's your jungler, that's the guy you would need to contest the objective. They're just going to back away from this one. Team Liquid maintains control. They're going to secure this objective for themselves. But the one thing I was going to mention before that fight popped off is top lane. One of the reasons why Summit is not at the very top of the gold chart, despite the fact that he's got 2 kills, despite the fact that he's out farming his opponent, the farm overall in top is much lower than the other 2 lanes this game. Significantly. 171 on Kai'Sa, 119 on Jax.
And they got bot tower, right? But the top lane is a 1,600 gold lead, and it's 1.9k right now between the 2 teams, right? So that is a massive part of that advantage. And we saw Summit easily force the ult out of Revenge. Revenge has to retreat. JoJo has to use his ult. Then all of a sudden, no solo laners with ults. And I think this is a really tough comp to actually play with for EG from behind. And I think they're in a lot of trouble. No one's going to be able to answer Summit in the side lane ever in this game. I think Varus is really going to struggle against the hard engage and Jax later on. And JoJo, as well as he has done, and the gold lead that he's created is great, I don't think he has the damage in his kit to really deal with some of the members on the other side.
Yeah, and I think specifically for Revenge, because the CS is so low and he hasn't gotten turret plates or kills, he's really, really far behind. I also wonder how much tilt is going to be in the minds of EG. They did just lose that close series to C9 as they try and make a play in mid lane despite being down 1,000 gold. While they had gold leads in 2 of the games against C9, it looked like those games were winnable. You look at this game, they were in winning positions in a lot of those top lane skirmishes, and it just keeps going wrong. So the macro of this game and the really, really small stuff for them is going well, but these narrow escapes by Summit, or those narrow escapes last week against Berserker, you gotta factor that in terms of their confidence in going for plays, because there's still 0 kills 18 minutes into this game, despite playing a lot of their lanes and having a lot of their positions before fights be pretty good.
Shaden coming up top. APA knows he's got his own jungler here in the brush. That's what he's playing around. If JoJo goes after him, he's got the Rel ready and waiting. Ayla's going to make this a 3v2, unless Team Liquid has already brought in additional reinforcements. Nope, just Pyosik. Charm shot out, but it doesn't hit nobody just yet. Yan's ready to follow up here and back these guys up as CoreJJ approaches from the jungle, but no need to go any further. 4v3 favoring Team Liquid if the fight was to continue, but Revenge over down in the bottom lane. They don't know where Summit is. There's no reason for EG to take anything more.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really tough, I think, game now for EG, because all you really want to do against the Jax team is 5v5. You want to try to force objectives, but I don't even know if they can win 5v5, and they definitely can't win side lane. Revenge is only richer than the supports in the game now. He's actually behind both junglers. at this point. So EG are going to try to play around JoJo, see if they can create some action there, but they just lack damage. Everyone's going to be building Merc Dreads that is kind of on that front line, and that is going to be problematic. You know, Summit, Pyosik are both going to be relatively tanky.
They might try something here.
Here they go.
All right, we're ready to go. Ayla with the entrance. They've immediately found a ton of burst on the APA who has to rocket jump out. But once again, it's a Team Liquid escape just barely. JoJo's down to about 100 himself, and he's going to get back underneath the tier 1 turret. Top laners both join up with the Unleashed TPs, but it's EG in retreat. JoJo, that critical component, is too low to continue fighting. Tier 1 turret now going to be teleported on. Team Liquid might just burst it down. They kill it before they can arrive. EG's now in a 4v4, but Team Liquid doesn't want to take any more. They no longer have the Alistar ulti and core is low, so they're going to back it away because APA is free firing on mid in the meantime. The Void Seeker fired out just to stop any TPs that might have been happening, and he recalls, excuse me. And Team Liquid now back up to, again, over a 2,000 gold.
And bad goes to worse because the Herald expired as JoJo was recalling there. They were trying to go for an aggressive play to drop Herald topside, so it expires when he's getting sent back to base. And this is just before that play. Yon Cleanse used on the Varus ultimate there. Both of these AD carries moving up towards topside, and they look for the Heart Engage here in onto APA. But again, as I said, they're really lacking damage. JoJo is not going to be able to 100-0 these guys from this position, and even with the Q over the wall from Unforgiven, it's just not enough.
I liked the Unforgiven ult on Yon at first, until it cost them a kill on APA, because he was in range to follow up specifically on Ayla's engage, unable to do it, and APA gets away. If there is a way for EG back in this game, I do think it's fights exactly like that, where they can kill APA first. He's got no flash, he's been shaky in some of his Tristana team fights lately, and that's going to be their window. But TL is just taking more and more control. They played a very clean game thus far. 20 minutes in, Summit, no ISO deaths. And not meaning that in any sense of flame, but he had 31 isolated deaths this split, the most of anyone in the LCS by at least 6. It's double the amount of anyone else in this game. But if he can play cleanly after having these early games, TL is going to be a very hard team to beat.
I just don't think there's any combination of 2 players on the map that can kill him right now. So I don't think he really has to worry. Like, you can play pretty aggressively as long as you're coordinating with your team and TL are pushing elsewhere on the map, you know, doing something. I think EG have to send 3 to try to kill Summit at this point because they're just not going to have any damage coming out from Revenge. We're going to see if they can catch Core.
Poor JJ with a pulverize, trying to stay alive, but now Summit's trying to drop the counter-strike, and he finds a stun under 3 Magnets for a minute to follow it up. The Rel has locked everybody down, and Team Liquid is moving them over. Yawns to the back line, a triple kill over to Summit. They want to follow up on the last 2, and Yawns got the Void Seeker. EG crumble, and Team Liquid's looking at Baron.
That blows the game wide open. Summit is grouped. EG is impatient. They want to make something happen. They're not just willing to let this Dragon Soul bleed them out, so they charm Core and they go for it. And even though they kill the support, who cares? Look at all the damage the Team Liquid has left. Pyosik has a massive engage. Summit is so incredibly tanky, he barely takes damage in there. And Yon and APA get to free hit. An absolutely ideal team fight for Team Liquid.
Yeah, there's just so much dive in onto Unforgiven. When you're playing these on-hit Varus builds and lethal tempo Varus, you need a lot of time to be able to actually stand and fire to get that damage out. And he's not being given any. Summit is always going to be running for him in these fights, putting the pressure on Unforgiven because he's the only one that can kill him.
Team Liquid is making good on that Ezreal ban back in draft, right? It's what we talked about. If you're going to ban it away, you need the dive to kill Varus, and surely enough they do. Shaden leading the charge here for EG as Core JJ doesn't have his ulti back in time. He's going to be killed, but he's traded back for revenge. It's a double kill for Pyosik as the enemy jungler falls. Unforgiven and JoJo trying to get out as Ayla's right next to him, but he has to bail. Unforgiven is done. Summit is dominating, and JoJo's the last man breathing on Evil Geniuses.
They're going to get a lot off of this. It's only the 22-minute mark that could keep EG in this game because their death timers are so short, because that was another complete wipe by Team Liquid. Yes, EG is getting Core. Congrats, you get a participation trophy, but they're losing every fight after bursting the Alistar.
And it's going to be Soul Point now here for TL. They'll grab their 3rd Dragon, so 1 off of that Soul. They're 8K ahead. They have that Baron buff to clear even more turrets off the map. And Summit is just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. He already has the Shojin. He's building towards this Zhonya that he really loves to be able to join these team fights. And when you have this much CDR, it just becomes so unplayable for EG. You know, the Jax is just going to have almost no cooldown on the Leap Strike.
What do you think about the Shojin second?
I think it's really
pretty
strong.
ambitious.
I mean, he's playing really far from ahead. If you want to go straight for team fights, you can go towards Sterix or whatever, right?
There's no way that flash was on purpose there from JoJo. Right?
I hope not.
I
Otherwise, EG's got some bigger problems.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I struggled to find a reason that it would be, but that is a big thing to just randomly lose your flash like that.
Yeah.
So let's see what there was.
No,
okay.
I mean, that's a misclick for sure.
Yeah, that was a misclick, but hey,
I bet you he's
it.
trying to actually time flash and didn't hit enter fast enough, because I've done that before where it's like you're trying to quickly type.
Yeah.
Okay. My guess is it's something like that.
Oh, I wonder if that was like a banter flash.
It could be. Yeah.
Team Liquid falling back now as EG tried to find an engage there, but Shaden's Glacial Prison ain't gonna lock nobody down. Ayla goes in with the quickness. JoJo locks down a couple of Pioshik, turns it right back around with a Magnet Storm. EG's too far behind. Ayla dies first, and Revenge has no threat on the enemy backline. Yon is on a killing spree, and Team Liquid's already found 3. JoJo's got no flash, no ult, no way out. Team Liquid picking up 4 again.
Summit actually jumped in with Counter-Strike, stopwatched, and stunned while he was in stasis. Just a really cool moment for Summit. Really freestyling on EG at this point. 15 kills to 2, 12,000 gold. They're winning any fight they look at.
I don't even know how many more fights there's going to be, chat. They're ready to end this game soon. That bottom side inhibitor is gone. They'll take the Hex Gates as a quick way out. Baron and the Soul Drake for them. Both going to be up here in about 3 minutes. And they are just heading all the way back to base. They got plenty of money to spend. Evil Geniuses needs a miracle to bring this game back.
I think they're going to need about 10 miracles at this point. I mean, this one is looking super over. Honestly, I just think compositionally, TL, when they get ahead with this comp, there's not really much going on for EG. You have, a pretty low damage draft if you fall behind, and the Jax answers it really, really well. And this is now another series here, like we had against 100 Thieves, where there's not really a side lane answer for Summit. And if you can't punish him, if you can't actually prey on his kind of habits where he goes really aggressive and does rack up all those ice deaths, well, then he doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses because he's incredible in the lanes. He does team fight well, and it does feel like TL is starting to coordinate a little bit better in these 5v5s and in these mid games.
And especially in a best-of-5 scenario where each game is going to inform the decisions of the draft in the next one. If you're Team Liquid, you don't care at all about Revenge's Aatrox after this game. You are not threatened by that whatsoever. Just wasn't able to find any response to the Jax through it with this one.
Well, and I mean, it's tough, right? Because you have to come out of this, and if your game plan was to match carry for carry, for Revenge, does the team have confidence in
Yon getting caught. Hold on now. Glacial Prison locks him down, nearly kills him. Magnet Storm ready to lock down the rest of EG as they try to go in. Team Liquid AD Carry's finally going to fall, but he's already been traded a 1-for-1 as Unforgiven is under pressure, and Revenge can't get himself away. Core survives this time as Summit is still looking to keep the play going. Counter-Strike right in the face. A double kill back over to Summit. He wants to make it a triple. He steps into the charm, and JoJo locks him down underneath the turret. They still don't have the damage to finish the job as JoJo and Ayla will try to defend, but APA's ready to wreck some turrets. Team Liquid now looking for the last 2 kills. They'll juggle them around like the sideshow of the circus. They'll send them back to the fountain in a body bag, and they'll take game 1 in 27 minutes.
Great start to the series by Team Liquid. They got knocked down to the losers bracket, found their way to this game by beating 100 Thieves, and one of the big questions was, is their clean mid game against 100 Thieves more of a factor of an inactive opponent or improvement that Team Liquid has made? And so far through this game, it does look like they have improved. Their strong early game transitioned to a solid mid game and a clean victory.
I have to give so much credit to Summit. To me, this game was all about Summit, all about how he handled the early pressure. EG, go red side. They 5th pick, counter pick top lane. They drafted with the Sejuani. They spent all their time up there. And at the end of the day, Summit outplays them. He survives, he gets ahead, and there was just no answer for him later on in this game.
And here you can see the final fight. I think by this point, the game was pretty decided. EG still finding what looked to be decent engages, but the gold lead was just so big. I think another factor in this game, though, was Team Liquid's relentless attack of JoJo in laning phase. And even with that, JoJo was still up 1,000 gold in the mid game. So I think we're going to see a very interesting series yet, because JoJo tried his damnedest in laning phase. It's just the rest of the map was unable to keep pace.
It might have been a low-kill early game, but it was a high-octane early game.
Yes.
Lots of attempts all over the place. Game number 1, hopefully setting the pace for active early and often for the rest of the series. Viva la LCS! LCS in Espanol is the official Spanish-language stream of the LCS. The new viewing experience is live on LLA's Twitch and YouTube channels right now. You can scan the QR code or go to lolesports.com to learn more. But with game number 1 wrapped up, let's head back over to the LCS Lounge to break that one down.
Welcome back. That was... I feel like it was an explosive early game, despite there being only 1 kill. Junglers were constantly either mid or top trying to make plays. There were some snafus. It was pretty interesting, actually, because when you see a low-kill game, you're like, oh, we're just farming, we're sitting back. No. Junglers were involved super early.
We want violence always.
Yeah, the junglers were all over the map. That was really cool to see. They were also, like, the players were both, like, nervous, but also really aggressive. Like, JoJo ran through a tier 1 turret, make Shaden tank it so he can throw a Q to stop APA's recall. Of course, no kills from it, so it doesn't look hypey, but it's like, what are these guys doing?
Playing the limit at all, no matter what.
There was a lot of misplays through the early game. I think both teams were a little nervous.
Yeah, and I mean, the main winner of that was Summit, right? As you see, Shaden's procs to the opposing top laner and the opposing mid laner. We will see Pyosix in a minute. But that, when they kept trying to kill Summit over and over again, and it just did not work, and in fact, he ended up benefiting from it. That was a major draft point that I talked about with Rainover at the start of the day, and he's like, yeah, we have full confidence in Summit. He's going to crush this.
Someone needs to protect Revenge Mental after that first game. After that first game, it was a party up top lane. The first gank should have worked, and Azael talked about how it was definitely difficult after he walked up, so let's play through it right now.
Yeah, I like to call it by, like, Revenge, if he kites down, he kind of cuts off the flash. And then here, just missing the Q1 tipper, unfortunate. This is enough of a tilter in its own right, but what happens afterwards is he's like, all right, I have the health advantage, you know, Shaden's gonna recall, I'm gonna push this wave in, and then, you know, I'll take my reset. But Pyosik comes during that time, and then they have the ward to TP on, and so not only did he not get a kill, he instantly gets ganked right afterwards and gives one back.
And I wonder, you have to guarantee that Shaden's asking is like, do you need me to push this wave? And Revenge is probably saying, no, it's fine, so he can get the full experience, and then that happens.
All right, we got him next time, though, right, Raz?
Yeah, surely.
This is the tilter.
Surely this time around, you're able to get him, and they fully commit to it, especially Ari with the flash, and he's able to get the Grass the Undying proc alongside the Sunderer, so he gets so much HP back that he still survives somehow. And after those sequences of plays, you're out of the game, like mentally out of the game.
Yeah, that
Gold-wise, you're fine.
No, I think both. You're probably out of the game.
I mean, we'll see. We'll pull up like this other fight that happened around 20 minutes, which I think was like the true kind of backbreaker of the game. But that play topside is pretty much where the game ended for me, right? Because you're not going to be able to match Jax regardless of where he is.
And the thing that was kind of unnoticed during all this was Yan was actually the highest in gold after all that. He was just farming so well in bot lane. Mid lane, APA and him ended up carrying this game because they're double marksmen. There's all this other focus. And that's actually when they're at their best, is when you're hitting something else so I can free hit you.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they can recover. Protect top lane mental.
At all costs.
For all top laners out there. We're going to break. Game 2 is coming up on the other side.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.
What would it mean for me to win the trophy? I think it's something that I've, in a sense, worked for probably since I graduated high school in 2020. From grinding as much as I can, honestly pretty hard so far. Not many other players can come into the slot I have and win. Ever since I laid eyes on it this split, since I started LCS, I knew I wanted it to be mine.
The flank, they can kill Impact.
They want to look for Impact. Make sure that he doesn't get his equalizer. Nice kick! Oh my god, that was beautiful! The kick into the Pop Blossom. They don't have to force a fight here, but APA says, oh! And it's the 4-man Pop Blossom from APA as he makes his mark in the LCS.
Make sure to use LCS Summer for $10 off your order of $15 or more for new diners until the end of the split. Terms apply.